Hello everyone, and now welcome to Game 2 in the series between TLO versus Fiirst here on Ohana. Game 2 after Fiirst absolutely rolling TLO over with some very fancy Sentry Zealot play early on. I did not expect him to deal the amount of damage that he was able to deal that early, so all the timings not really cutting any corners anywhere, going for a Warp Prism first as opposed to the typical Observer first, and also delaying his Scout. You can see Fiirst this time around not delaying his Scout. He is actually sending it right after the pylon. This does show me that Fiirst does want to know a little bit more information about what TLO is doing, perhaps. And what TLO is doing, let's take a look. TLO has spawned as the Red Zerg on the top left-hand side. Red Zerg versus Blue Protoss once more. And this probe taking a rather unusual route inside his opponent's base. Not quite sure why, as there's really no fear that a hidden proxy hatchery could be placed down this early in the game. Zerg players are perhaps the most constricted in terms of their opening build orders and easiest to scout, just because that spawning pool has to be built on creep, or that hatchery is early on and really needs to be built very close to minerals. Let's take a look at the strategy. Fiirst is taking a look around inside TLO's base. He does spot the spawning pool first, but with the lack of gas, I would not be surprised if Fiirst just still goes for that Nexus first. Nexus first will be the opening strategy of choice, as TLO going to try to establish up his hatchery just a little bit later than normal. Let's go ahead and see what's going to be happening here. That probe doing a very good job of just delaying the drone from growing up and just living out its dream as a hatchery and training up more Creens. We can see off over here, this probe is backing away. This drone is now making its way down to the third base perhaps. And this is a bit risky for TLO. TLO, by taking up this hatchery, will be much more exposed. But he also doesn't want to delay his base all too much either. You can see a queen is being added here. 2 Zerglings already going to go ahead and chase down this probe. The probe may get taken down, as the Zerglings are now going to try and test that front door. We should see another pylon here. If Fiirst is not able to warp in a pylon or just seal off this wall in, that is going to be a problem. As Fiirst, what's going to be happening here, the Zergling is trying to get in position, going to go ahead and push back this probe, and now going after that photon cannon. The photon cannon taking a bit of damage already. Is it going to get canceled? And this is going to cause some problems. Probes are now coming off the mineral line as the Zerglings are now backing away. These probes can pretty much live and fight all day inside this base. You can see more Zerglings now making their way in, as the Zerglings have reached inside here. The probes now battling it out against those Zerglings. Who's going to come out on top, as the Zerglings now going to try and take down this photon cannon once more. Damage is being dealt on both sides. You can see that photon cannon is nearing completion, and oh, this is going to be cutting it very close here. That photon cannon down to 60 some odd hit points. More damage being dealt. A Zealot is now out, as the Zergling's going to go ahead and take down the photon cannon after it was completed. There it goes. And now only 1 Zergling is left. Alright, so TLO did not get that much damage done, but he was able to force a lot of probes from mining. And also, if you take a look at the resources lost, the resources lost are much heavier for Fiirst. So the cancellation on 1 photon cannon, the photon cannon after that being destroyed, and now once again being replaced, as this Zergling still trying to run laps inside this base. The Zergling is slightly faster than that Zealot. The Zealot will not be able to catch up, as we still see the units running laps inside here still. Fiirst should perhaps be transitioning some probes off to the natural expansion. Already has 16 probes, or he did have 16 probes. Never mind, didn't have good saturation on that other gas yet. Will be a little bit of time there, as the Zergling is pretty much just confined inside this base. Coming back to TLO, TLO does have a good number of harvesters, sitting at 37. Good saturation at what would normally be considered the third base. We can see a queen now being added over here at the natural. And we are going to perhaps be starting that metabolic boost in just a second. Just needs about another 50 gas. Will be harvested in about 15 seconds or so. as the Zergling now making its rounds, still delaying and forcing this Zealot to run laps and get in his good morning jog. Alright, the Stalker is going to come over into position. It looks like that Zergling will get taken down. There it goes, as we now see a transition into a Stargate. Now, TLO, what is his counter strategy going to be? He only has one queen per hatchery, which is not going to be enough to handle all of these Stargate units. Phoenixes are very, very useful if your opponent does not have the necessary queens for defense. 16 drones on gas here in the third base. We can already see 10 drones on gas, 11 drones with more being added still, 7 more. And more drones making their way into position. Here you have Stalkers, Zealots, now trying to go for a bit of an engagement. Where are these Zerglings going? The Zerglings now backing off, drones walking their way forward through this line here, as the Stalkers are not going after the drones there. The Zerglings trying to chase after those units, but without that metabolic boost, they cannot really deal that much damage. Fiirst being very aggressive just with a couple of Stalkers, and without that metabolic boost, what is going to be happening? Queen now taking a bit of damage, needs to be very careful as the Zerglings are on creep, able to push back over. Level 1 weapons upgrade, and Fiirst, even though he is a little bit behind in this game, will be able to open up with a lot of pressure in just a moment. Glio Reconstitution, Roach is now coming out, and the Roaches doing that stutter step forward, able to get some easy shots off onto those fleeing Stalkers. Alright, Phoenixes still being added. Let's see how many Phoenixes are in play. I only see one being trained up as the Zerglings going after the Zealot. Is it going to be enough to take it down? The Zerglings are just simply going to surround it here, and there it goes. The Zerglings now with metabolic boost chasing up all of those Stalkers. The Stalkers do need to perhaps, a little bit of a dangerous situation for that Stalker there. Is that Stalker going to get taken down? Yes, it will. And now we see a 94-68 supply advantage. TLO really benefiting from that economic advantage. You can see he is getting into Spore Crawlers and also has a much larger army. However, the mineral composition is still smaller. We can see the Phoenixes going after Overlords, and TLO may decide to invest in more Queens, or perhaps even invest in some invest in some additional Spore Crawlers once more. Alright, in comes the Phoenixes. 4 Phoenixes raring to go. There's a Queen. Is it going to get Graviton Beam? Spore Crawler nearby. Those the Phoenix just going after the Overlord. Overlord trying to pull itself back. Will get shot down. 105 compared to 136. A Void Ray now on the move. The Zergling, or the Roach, does spot this at the Zelnaga Tower, and the Void Ray, I'm not sure why he isn't move attacking against that one particular Roach, as the Phoenixes are now going after some of these drones. One drone now down. A second drone taken down as well, as the Queen now getting focused down. However, double Spore Crawlers, enough to push those units back. Phoenixes looking to see where they can perhaps fly and still come in with a little bit of harassment, but this is one of the reasons why I do not like Phoenix harassment, especially against Zerg. But we are also going into Tunneling Claws and Burrow. This is going to be a huge, huge play, especially if the Roaches try and come in from the far side here. There may not be enough observers, as another Overlord now shot down. More gateways coming in from Fiirst. Mass Roach army with 1-0 upgrades, soon to be 2-0. Burrow is completed, along with Tunneling Claws. And where are these units all traveling to now? One Roach. Graviton Beam, to no armor on that Roach. Not enough armor on that Roach to really get away, as the Roaches are now, perhaps they're going to burrow their way through here. What's going to be happening? Roaches are simply charging into position, and here you go, going after the Immortal. The Immortal going to get focused down rather quickly, and now burrowing away and getting back underneath. Alright, all these Roaches will be able to regenerate those hit points. There is, however, a Graviton Beam, as the Roaches now deciding to back away again. TLO sitting at 167 compared over 168. Fiirst is a bit behind, and the Phoenixes, which are not normally strong against Roaches, are still picking apart and trying to split up these Roaches. It is forcing an engagement. Here you go. There is an observer in the air. Roaches are focusing down the Immortals, and both sides are still battling it out. Roaches trying to get back underneath. TLO, however, taking a beating, and this is not looking good for him at all. He did have a small supply advantage, but this is not working out well. This is not working out how he intended. The Roaches are not going to be good against these Void Rays, and these Immortals, especially with the number of units we still see on the field. There you go. Void Ray now chasing after more units. Roach is trying to engage TLO, however, on the run. Is he going to be able to get away? I do not believe so, as Fiirst now bringing up the rear with a proxy pylon and ready for that counterattack. Alright, 31 Roaches against a Stalker, Void Raid, Immortal army with sentries to boot. That is not good, especially when these Roaches are only upgraded 2-0. And now what are we going to be having next? Alright, Roaches trying to engage another round of force fields, catching all of these Roaches out of position. Perhaps more creep needs to be laid down. There are Overseers in this group. Roaches trying to come around the far side, perhaps cut off the reinforcements, but that is the strength of Protoss. No reinforcement line anywhere on the map except for Immortals. And, oh, one poor Immortal getting just caught there, as we now see the Roaches trying to come in for a very, very strong push. Drones now trying to head back up. Force field a little bit late, as a lot of units were able to retreat. We'll see what's going to be happening here as the Roaches are now making their way in. Okay, Photon Cannon. That Photon Cannon is not long for life. It goes down. But who has the stronger army? TLO does have more supply, but I do not believe he has the stronger army, as drones are now slipping away. Roaches battling it out. Why isn't there any Void Rays coming out of that Stargate? That would be the perfect counter, as both sides taking heavy, heavy losses. Void Ray in the air, charging down a lot of these units. Roaches going after this here. Fiirst is now down to 126, as the Queens and the Roaches are still battling it out. Queens unable to fight back, and TLO and Fiirst, both sides very, very low on resources. Yeah, not going to be able to rebuild the necessary buildings, as drones are now mining over here at what I'll call the 9 o'clock position. Roaches are finishing off these buildings here. Are there perhaps any proxy or hidden pylons? The Roaches going after this one pylon here. Perhaps this will get burrowed. We need to get a queen if possible, but not possible enough. You can see the Roaches are trying to finish off the buildings. There are still pylons left being warped in. They're going to be very difficult to take down once the army is in position. And Fiirst has currently not rebuilt his base. Hatchery count, building count, and this is a problem for TLO. He has a lot of Overlords, but those Overlords do not count towards the building. And now that we also have a Void Ray in position at full charge, this hatchery will get taken down here. So far, the Roaches trying to make their way back off to the north. This base race is going to end with Fiirst taking a clear advantage, but a new hatchery now being placed down here by TLO. TLO has gotten enough resources, and what is happening next? There are still pylons out across the map. TLO does have some drones. He needs to start mining. Is the Queen going to get out? No, it is not, and the drones now need to make their way down. Roaches going after the pylons, but that's not going to be enough, as a new hatchery is now already down. These drones off over here perhaps should be attacking the buildings. There's a bad force field, and Fiirst... Wait, what is this? Are there any observers on the field? Yes, there is one observer, but where is it? And those Roaches are really playing a game of whack-a-mole, taking down the Immortals. Very nicely done. Where is the observer? The observer now making its way over. Very slow movement speed. The Roaches now backing away. TLO, is it going to perhaps get enough damage? No, all the Roaches now forced to be on the run, and there is the GG. The only thing that would have saved him is perhaps taking down all of those observers. And Fiirst takes a 2-0 lead in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed Game 2. Please stay tuned for Game 3.